This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, safari lovers. Look at these wonderful Impala just chilling out this morning, having a bit of a snack, and we are very, very excited to take you guys on your very own live safari of the African bush. Morning, everybody. It is me, Trishala, and I've got BK on camera this lovely morning at Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, and we found a lovely herd of Impala this morning, quite a large herd, and we haven't driven very far. We want to go check out the den as well, but we thought let's just have a look at these lovely guys first. I feel spring is upon us. Not quite, but it's getting there. 8 degrees Celsius this morning, 47 degrees Fahrenheit. Could be warmer, but I am happy. I really am. So use that hashtag, guys, WildEarth, to chat to us, ask us your questions, give us your comments. You can also use the YouTube chat stream. You can use Twitch. And, of course, our lovely kids. You can use kids' questions at wildearth.tv. It's a very, very peaceful morning. You can just be quiet and you can hear there's a few birds in the distance chirping away, and these guys are slowly grazing. You can see there's some moisture in the air. It's causing our lens to fog up, but BK will take care of that. Thank you, BK. Thank you very much. So as they're moving along, you know, they're mixed feeders, so they'll graze sometimes, browse other times, and there's a drongo that's standing by, waiting for its opportunity to pick up any insects that get kicked up by the movement of the impalas and feeding of the impalas. I love how everything works together in the wild. One benefits from the other. Jasper, you would like to know what the difference between a sub-adult and a juvenile is? It is a little bit blurry, but a sub-adult is an animal that is almost an adult. That is almost reached sexual maturity. A juvenile is not sexually mature or fully grown. And a juvenile could also apply to a cub. But we don't generally use that word for a cub because we just call it a cub. Interesting. They were all slowly moving west, and now they're all slowly moving east. Oh, it's beautiful when they walk like this. Just beautiful, in a nice line, expanding quite some area. I think they're going to head towards Gallego Pan, and I think I might swing by there and check it out before I head to the den.
Good morning, everybody. We are sitting here on a crest at beautiful Pridelands Eco Training Conservancy, watching the sunrise over the Drakensberg escarpment. Very, very gorgeous morning. Nice and crisp and cool. My name is Michael Anderson. Behind the camera is Gert, and as I said, we are here at Pridelands. We've come to this particular crest this morning, first of all, to enjoy the beautiful view and listen to the dawn chorus from a high area, but also because right where we are now, we found a leopard last night in a tree with a carcass. So we've come here to investigate whether the leopard is still in the tree with the carcass. However, unfortunately, it is not. The food is still there though, not much left. But as you can see, there's a duiker, or what's left of a duiker, hanging in that tree. The meat eaters will be pleased to see bacon first thing in the morning. Oh, we've got some alarm calling happening close to us. Perhaps the leopard is coming back to check what's left of this carcass. There was a hyena waiting at the bottom of the tree, but that hyena did move off after a few minutes. But we definitely hear alarm calling happening behind us, so maybe this leopard is coming back to its carcass. So we'll stick around here just for a few minutes. We have to be quite quiet. This leopard was a little bit nervous of the vehicle yesterday. Not so nervous. I mean, we were maybe 20 meters away and it sort of stayed quite relaxed. But definitely just want to keep our voices down in the hopes that it comes back to finish off what was left. Just keep scanning around, looking all over. It shows a good spot. We've seen lots and lots of animals in this area recently because it's warmer up on these crests when it's cold. And so the leopard was probably hunting up here during the night because this is where all the animals hang out. And it quickly took its carcass up into this tree. As you can see, a beautiful sun just rising over the horizon. It's going to be bringing us some nice warm rays, I hope. It'll be very, very good. Not even a little bit beautiful, but very beautiful. Sometimes it's nice just to sit quietly anyway, even if there wasn't the potential for a leopard coming to a carcass in a tree. It's just beautiful just to sit and watch the world slowly unfold from its slumber. I'm not sure if you can hear around us. It's absolutely wonderful, the sounds of the bush waking up. The birds are starting to call as the sun touches them, and you'll start finding them all landing on the tops of the trees, just starting to warm up. I love the silhouettes of the trees in the winter time. So beautiful shapes. And there you see that very, very sparsely vegetated marula tree that this leopard climbed up. They love the marula trees, the nice round branches, lots of horizontal branches for them to hop up, to climb up into these trees. As you can see, this one's even got a broken branch low down. It would have been very easy for the leopard to climb up into this tree. We heard a hyena earlier. So there was a hyena at the base of this tree, and then we sat for a little while, and after about 5 minutes, the hyena slowly got up and went in the direction of another call. A hyena was calling in the distance. Perhaps another member of the same clan calling to say, we've got something interesting. So, we don't know, just a little waiting here. Absolutely spectacular just to sit quietly. Have you ever enjoyed a morning where you just sit and listen, sometimes with a coffee, just waiting for the world to wake up? There's that beautiful Drakensberg, and now you can see the sun just starting to illuminate the different layers in that mountain. Quartzite, granite. As you can see, that camera lens is just a bit foggy. Very, very cold morning. Oh, now it's crispy. Look at that. Quartzite, granite, basalt on the lower layers. It's a wonderful place to go and climb. Beautiful hiking tracks up there. Also, there'll be leopards up on that mountain as well. I wonder if a leopard from here at Pridelands has ever made its way to that mountain. Andrew says that this mountain is a beauty in its design. Absolutely, Andrew. Everything in nature is beautiful in its own way, but that mountain is probably the most beautiful. Stands proudly more than 1,000 meters above us right now. That's 3,000 feet above us. It's an absolutely gigantic geological feature. Spectacular.
Good morning everybody, to a clear morning, a fresh morning, and once again another beautiful day. All of you out there who've woken up and are ready to join us, you've snuggled in your beds or you're sitting having coffee or you're at the end of your day, welcome. My name is Steve, joined by Craig, and we are live currently from Somabili. We're just going to do a bit of a scratch around over here and see what we can find. But for now, we have found the rising sun. And unfortunately, the change in air temperature is causing the lens to just mist over slightly. So there you'll see, this is a live show, everybody. These things happen. That change in temperature from the early dawn till where the sun rises, you get this condensation. And I'm going to allow you just a moment to just enjoy the coming of the day.
Having correction, Mike.
Terribly sorry about that. Yeah, the kudus, Craig. Yeah, kudus alarm calling, everybody. We're going to go follow up on those kudus. They're coming from the gate. It's loud. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm having a cheeky coffee while we're watching the sunrise. Go around. Kudus are a very good alarm call, everybody. They make this very loud bark. Oh, just like that, exactly like that, in fact. So we're going to go follow up. It's coming from directly north of us now, close towards the gate. So we're going to head over there, see if we can relocate on who's upsetting these animals.
Isn't this just so pretty? There's some spider webs dangling from this buffalo thorn in the gorgeous rising sunlight. Just love it. I love it so much. It looks so pretty. Like little decorations on the trees. These are little tropical tent web spiders. They're starting to build a little web. Spiderlings build these little webs like this. In fact, I want to show you one that's just dangling off this dead branch here. And with all the moisture in the air, remember I said to you that's quite moist, and that's why we've got to clean the lens. You can see them very clearly, just because the web is catching the moisture. Even like that, look at that, you can see them already. Like little decorations. So pretty. And they're all over the place. I couldn't drive by without showing you, because like I said, sometimes the day itself and how beautiful all these abiotic things are, the sun, the soil, all of those things are a sighting too. Just this day is a sighting in all of its beauty. I'm gonna head down. I'm on Gallagher Pan Road. The road that leads to the pan, not the pan that leads to the road. And we are gonna see what is happening there. So Kalamba is not, as you would imagine, at her kill at the moment because that thing was obliterated yesterday. So we can have a look if she's moved it this way. BK, can we please show them how there's these little things all around as we drive? You can see little small white hanging bits all over. So pretty. So pretty. I just could not drive by without sharing the gorgeousness of the day with you.
Good morning and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Damon and behind the camera this morning we've got Marcel, and we're out in the rather chilly but open plains of the far south of the reserve this morning, and we're going to go in search of some lions, the same lions that you saw with Clive yesterday evening. But in the meantime we've managed to find a big herd of buffalo. Isn't that magnificent, that big herd moving across the hillside there? See how most of them have got their heads down in the grass, busy grazing. You might just also be able to make out on the very furthest hill that the sun is slowly starting to come up, starting to bathe the hillsides in a lovely golden light. And these buffalo have probably been resting somewhere in a thicket nearby, ruminating, chewing the cud. Now they're back up and on the move, off in search of the best grazing they can find. It being quite cool now, of course, early in the morning, this is going to be the time that they want to do most of their moving, even though it's quite chilly now. Have a look at the sky. You might just be able to see a bit of a bank of clouds in the distance, but besides that, there's not too much cloud cover this morning, and so I'm pretty sure that later on today, the sun's going to get pretty intense, pretty warm, and then these buffalo are not going to be wanting to move around too much, so they want to get their moving done now, while it's still nice and cool. Moving quite quickly now. Look at how they're pushing through that thicket of guarris there. Lovely to see such a big group. And often at this time of year, with it being kind of the drier season of the year, throughout many places in South Africa, both in the Greater Kruger area as well as here at Phinda, we often find that the buffalo herds kind of tend to group together and form these massive herds as they head off in search of the best grazing and of course water as well. Being a very water dependent animal, they won't stray too far from water, and I'm pretty sure that later when it does start to warm up a little bit, these buffalo will go down, have a drink, perhaps even twice today. They might drink a little bit later now and then again this evening. But what a magnificent scene. It's awesome as well to be driving through these open plains. I mean, we can see for miles from here. And we actually spotted this herd from way, way, way off. Look at how much their bodies stick out against the grey grass. Oh, and just using my binoculars and scanning around, I can see at least 2 or 3 other buffalo herds all heading in this direction. Zake, you're asking how buffalo protect their babies. So let's have a close look at one where we can see its head. Have a look, Zake, at that buffalo there. And in fact, look, she's got a little calf behind her. And have a look on her head. See how big those horns are and how sharp they are. And so if a predator does get close enough to try and attack the calf, that buffalo cow will be able to use her horns to try and drive the predator away. But even before that, just with them being in such a big herd, there's lots of ears and noses and eyes on the kind of keeping a lookout for danger. And so if they do detect any sign of danger, they will either try to get away from it, so they might run away, or they might even go towards it and try and drive it away as a herd. Also, for example, if a pride of lions, like the pride of lions that we're looking for this morning, if they try to attack this herd of buffalo, if the buffalo aren't surprised, if they see the buffalo coming, if they see the lions coming, or even if they do get surprised by the lions, they will flee in such a way that they push the calves towards the center of the herd, and often the bigger, stronger adults, often the big adult bulls, will go towards the back of the herd or towards the outside of the herd to form a defensive barrier to keep the predators away from their youngsters. Oh, and look out in the distance there, just below the top of that mountain, off to the right a bit, Marcel, there's another big herd of buffalo. There we go. Just below the top of that pyramid-shaped mountain, there's another big herd that's moving through the open grassland there. Like we said, all these herds, although these herds haven't joined up just yet, in very close proximity to each other, just taking advantage of all the fantastic grazing that's in this area. This is also a region where there's kind of the last bit of water left in this part. I've mentioned it a couple of times now that with it being the drier time of the year, the water holes are drying up quite a bit, and the last remaining water in this area is kind of in the valley between this closer herd of buffalo and that one off in the distance there. So these buffalo are going to be sticking around this area for quite some time now, just to make use of all the available water. Like we said earlier, very water dependent animals. Reike, you're asking how many buffalo are in this group. Reike, this closer herd, I'm going to see if I can do a quick little count with my binoculars just to get a bit of an estimate. Oh, that herd at the back looks like it might even be a little bit bigger than this one. But 1, 2, 3, 16, 17... Reike, it's tough now because they've all gone into the thickets. But if I had to estimate, maybe about 50 or 60. And that's a good-sized herd for our reserve, for our part of the world. Other parts of Africa, including the Greater Kruger, you do get much bigger herds, up to several hundred, maybe even up to 1,000 or more. Byron, you're asking how many male buffalo will be in a herd. Byron, that can vary, or it'll obviously vary from herd to herd. So typically within a herd of buffalo like this, where we see there's perhaps maybe 60 buffalo, that group of 60 will be made up of several little family groups. So there'll be a bull, a couple of cows, and then their offspring, and it'll be made up of several of those groups all put together. So Byron is having a quick look now through my binoculars. I can see at least, well, in this herd in front of us anyway, I can see at least maybe 7 or 8 big mature adult bulls. And then there'll be a couple of younger bulls as well, Byron. Because of course, not including the younger calves. It looks like there's maybe 7 or 8 adult bulls in this herd. But as these buffalo move down the hill in search of their grazing, we're going to leave them and go and see if we can catch up with that pride of lions.
Well, good luck with the lion search. Buffalo is always a good avenue for finding lions. And we've been following up on our kudu calls, but yet have not managed to find who or where they have come from. So we are now currently looking north into Buvusuk, everybody, to one of our watering holes called Sydney's, right up on our northern boundary, close to the gate. The alarm calls were coming from very close by, and Rexon from Juma is up and about. He's going to go in there and check. It's always interesting to actually figure out how far away a call is. And kudus have got the loudest call of all the antelope. So it's quite deceptive, especially in the early morning when it's cold like this. Sounds can go extremely far. So by sitting and listening, we might hear something further. We saw the security guy at the gate. He didn't hear the kudu, so which means that it probably was further away than we even thought. And then again, not everybody's always listening out for these sounds. It's like music to my ears, an alarm call. So both the Ngala, the kudu and the bushbuck make a dog-like sound. Kudu is very, very deep. The bushbuck sounds very much like a dog. And then the Ngala is a deeper dog. I know that sounds quite strange, but I remember the one time when Marcel, who's over at Phinda, was here, and he said, "Steve, there's a dog bark in there." I said, "That's not a dog, that's a bushbuck." So you'll actually think it sounds like a dog barking. And when they do bark, everybody, try to find the animal and look at their eyesight. Where are they looking? You find a lion, you'll find a leopard. Very, very reliable. Okay, so we're going to carry on now, right on our northern boundary. You ready? We've had some nice coffee. The circulation is flowing. It's not that cold this morning, although it is colder than it was yesterday. It's a fresh morning. We're going to go back in onto this road and see if maybe any tracks have come in, and maybe the kudu were actually closer than I thought, but it's doubtful. And then if we don't find them, we will continue on our search onto Somabili. If that is alright with all of you, maybe we'll find Kara again, or signs of the Juma Pride who went over last time. We might just stop and give you a quick image of a guinea fowl. And while we watch them and their alertness as they begin their morning, we're going to just spend a moment and observe their behavior.
Guinea fowl can be a great indication of a predator around, especially as the morning gets a little bit later. In the morning they tend to squabble a little bit, and in the evenings. Now here we have a tree. BK is giving you a good look at the leaves. Oh, and look at that, there's lots of water droplets on the leaf, condensation. It's just telling of the moisture in the air at the moment. Now I'd like you to tell me which tree you think this is. We have a look at the colors at this time of year. It's a good giveaway because these trees, as well as their relatives, have beautiful colors. They go from the green to peachy, ready before they get brown. Now let's have a look at the bark. Gorgeous bark. And if we have a quick look at these leaves that are just here on my dash, and give you a good idea or a good clue. Look at the end of this leaf there. It kind of points, it's kind of twisted. We call that the apex of the leaf, and it's a little twisted. So let me know what type of plant you think it is, what tree it is, using the hashtag WildEarth or the YouTube chat stream, and we'll talk about it in a bit.
Welcome back, everyone.
We have left our herd of buffaloes heading off in search of those lions. We've managed to find a small group of white rhinos. It looks like a big bull, which is the one that you can see now. And just before there was also a mother and a little calf. How beautiful is that though, that rhino silhouetted in the lovely light of the sunrise. And he's following along closely behind this rhino cow, it seems, with her little calf. Obviously quite interested in them, because as soon as they started to move, he started to follow them. So obviously not just a coincidence that they're all in the same place here. So it's not just good grazing that's brought them together. It might be that this cow is coming into estrus, and that's why this bull is following her so closely. And something that we've seen quite often in the last couple of weeks here out of andBeyond Phinda is rhino bulls following rhino cows with calves around. There we go, now just the two humps of his back disappearing over the horizon. And he'll want to keep his approach discreet, because if he does get a little bit too close, that rhino cow might take exception to him. She might bellow and grunt at him. There we go, he's gone off over the hillside. There was another couple of rhinos that just went down the hill in front of us here, but they seem to have also moved out of shot for now. So I think we're going to carry on in search of that lion pride. I'm hoping that now, with it being nice and cool, that they'll be on the move. Perhaps if they go to hunt, that they'll be trying to hunt, or if they just need to do a bit of moving around, patrolling their territory, that's what they'll be doing. So hopefully when you come back to us, we'll have that pride of lions for you.
Oh, good luck. Good luck. I hope that we get to find that pride. And I hope that you guys have some answers to that question. It was very brief, so we can chat about it when I see another one of those trees. But I don't see any up here just yet. So, the hyena den is not active at the moment. Another vehicle has gone there and just updated. So we'll check a little bit later. It's maybe a little bit warmer. Now let's find you one of these leaves. Now to assist you, or one of these trees, to assist you in answering that question, let's talk about what Juma is, what type of environment Juma is. Juma is a broad-leaved woodland, or combretum woodland. So that would be different. Ooh, hello Steenbok. No, don't. These ones on quarantine are so relaxed. I just love looking at them. Gorgeous tiny little things looking for all sorts of juicy bits. They'll often dig for bulbs and things like that too. And get a good amount of moisture from all of that vegetation. Especially digging for bulbs, because many plants hold heaps of moisture in those. What are you looking at? Oh, nothing. Also, all the little droplets of water that's on the plants also be an extra bit of moisture for this little critter. Alright, Londeka says she's got some answers. Ooh, Jenny, you say a russet bush willow? It is not a russet bush willow. And the difference would be that apex that I showed you on the leaf that's a little bit twisted. Erica, you say a silver cluster leaf. not a silver cluster leaf. Let me try and find you one of these trees so we can have a better look. Although the steenbok is being nice. Let's watch the steenbok and we'll talk a little bit more. It's not a silver cluster leaf. A silver cluster leaf has a very long leaves that have a silvery tinge to them and hairy bits on it. Joy, you say a mapani tree? It is not. We don't get mapani trees around this area, or not on Juma particularly. The russet bush willow was very close and can sometimes be confused with this tree, but the end of that leaf that's twisted, that apex that's twisted, gives you a clue to which one it is. In fact, the species name, so you know we have genus and species, and the Latinized name is always two words. The one at the end, which is the species name, like Panthera leo. Panthera is the genus, leo is the species name. For lion, the species name sounds a little bit, or that apex gives you a clue to the species name as well, because it sounds a little similar, or at least the beginning of it. That's one of the more common trees out here. Joel, you'd like to know if a steenbok and a dik-dik is the same animal? It is not. We don't get dik-dik here. They're also very cute and very tiny. But I can see why you would think that they could be the same animal. They do look very similar, but they are not. You would see them up in the Mara. You know, that position for morning ablutions is just, you know it as soon as the animal gets ready. Whether it is, oh, look at that, look at that. It's covering up. It's little dung pellets there. There's a squirrel losing its mind just to the north of me, northeast of me. I think I'm gonna go check that out. Gonna go check out the losing minding squirrel and hopefully find you another one of these trees. I was about to say the name of it and I thought, no, Trishana.
Thanks, Trish. Good luck. We haven't managed to find anything from our alarm calls related to alarm calls, but we found a bulldozer. In the form of an elephant. Now, and that is what they do, everybody. They have the potential to move the structures. Many grasses actually grow very well underneath fallen trees, fallen thickets. And this time of year, there's still a lot of that grass growing in amongst these fallen branches and trees. And while elephants, they want it. So they push it away and they go for it. Wow, splendid. So we move up here. We've got a few more elephants in a little bit better lighting. That one just decided to hide herself behind the tree. So see if we can get you some of these ellies in the nice golden light. Wonderful little breeding herd here. Got a couple little youngsters playing. Like there. All right, Craigie. And it's very interesting how they're all hanging out down here in these low-lying areas. You tell it's a low-lying area by the fact that it's dominated by quarries. Now, the quarries are indicative of soil where sodium and nutrients and salts have been washed from the top of the slope to the bottom. And so these soils are probably higher in sodium, definitely higher in nutrients, and they can tend to get overgrazed. Quarries have access to the water, and these elephants are more interested in a bit of social play than they are in anything I'm talking about. I felt a bit embarrassed there. They start feeding again and then fighting again. Typical boys. Isn't it? Typical boys. Trunks intertwined, isn't that special? It's all play, everybody. There's nothing serious about this interaction. Hang on, everybody. Rexon might have something for me. Say bye, Rex.
Stiff, WildEarth stiff.
Steady by, steady by.
You check from the gate side, very close where on the fabric of Somabili.
I checked to the gate on Triple M, and then I came in towards that that big tree in that dump site, just close to that house.
Okay, I got some sunglasses here. I don't know whether it's for you.
Craig, have you lost your sunglasses? It's possible, Rex. Are they silver? They might be Craig's.
Yeah, I've got it.
Robert, thank you very much. Rexon has tracked down Craig's sunglasses. There we go, Craigie. The radio comes in handy, everybody, not only for finding animals, but for finding our lost equipment. Too funny. How Craig is going to survive the day without glasses on is anyone else's guess. Okay, well, elephants are all feeding now, and the thickets. Our two little cheeky boys have moved off. You can see the very green trees in picture. Here's the guarries. They are evergreen trees, and elephants will eat them. They're very high in tannin, very, very high in tannin, but there's still moisture in them. And a very important ecological tree here for providing shade. Randall, you want to know if they eat moss? We don't get too much moss around these areas because of the climate is pretty dry. We do get rainy season, but moss is not enormous. But I've never noticed or seen elephant eating moss. I suppose they probably would. If it came down to it, they'd probably eat some moss. I'm really not sure, though. They definitely eat trees and plants of all different kinds and varieties. And they learn. Mum will teach them how to feed. Rexon has arrived with Craig's sunglasses. Look at that, special delivery. Thank you so much, Rex. The unbreakable sunglasses. He dropped his glasses and a little sweet. Well done, Craigie. Now Craig has got his snacks back and his glasses back. It's going to be a good day. Many, many things fall off these vehicles, everybody. Notably on a game drive, things that people lose out of their pockets is cell phones. I've been on drive many times where many, many people have lost their very, very expensive iPhone.
can see it's looking straight down and alarm calling. Into a very, very thick red spike thorn. What do you see? Now it would alarm if it sees a snake down there. We wouldn't be able to see because it's so thick. A predatory bird as well. Maybe it fell to the ground, but unlikely. Could do this for a cat as well. For a lion, for a wildcat. But it's most likely a snake in this bush. And you can see the tail is also moving when it alarm calls. Now that's very, very useful, especially if it's on the ground, because apart from the audio cue that, hey, I see you, don't come near me, there's also the tail that lifts up as a warning. It's so interesting to watch this because something is there. We can't see it obviously because there's a thick bush there. But it's been doing this since we were with the steenbok. So something is bothering it. As for the tree quiz, I knew it. I knew Judy H would get it. I thought of Judy H as soon as I did the tree quiz, whenever I do any tree quizzes. And you are absolutely correct. It's a red bush willow, Combretum apiculatum. I remember it because that tip, the apex, is slightly twisted and pointed, whereas it's not that way with the russet bush willow. I remember apex apiculatum. Red bush willow. Well done, Judy H. Although I must say, I knew you would get it. How about we just take a small swing around and have a look at the bottom there and see if there's a surprise. If not, we'll have to keep on moving. Anything to see there, BK? Nothing to see, and our squirrel has gone quiet.
We've managed to find some lions, everybody, with the help of our tracking vehicle. They've managed to find this lioness and a big male. Oh, just look at her in that beautiful grass and the green leaves in the morning sunlight. Look at how this male is also sticking very close to her. And what our tracking vehicle was telling us is that apparently it looked like they might be mating. And wouldn't that be just exciting? I mentioned earlier, with it being nice and cool, that we might expect the lions to be moving around, maybe hunting, maybe patrolling their territory. But we didn't say anything about mating, and that's just very, very, very exciting, everybody, if that is the case. And certainly the fact that this male is sticking so close to this lioness and following her around, watching her every move, just like that white rhino bull was doing a bit earlier. all telltale signs that she might be coming, excuse me, that she might be coming into estrus, and he's going to be wanting to stick with her. For the time being, though, look at how she's walking underneath that little guarri bush there. It's almost like she's eating some of the grass there. I wonder if she hasn't maybe got a bit of an upset stomach. Just like with domestic dogs, how they'll eat grass or leaves. Lions will often do the same. But I'm sure she won't be in there for too long. She'll come back out onto the road. But while we've got him in the road, look at how beautiful this male lion's mane is. He's got the back of his head for now. Look at how lovely and dark that hair is. Rich black mane with a bit of red tinges to the sides. Oh, and there he gets up. The lioness obviously going a little bit too far for his liking. Look at how he's going to rub his head now up against the bottom of that guarri bush. And he's going to lift his tail. And he'll probably then scent mark as well. Watch for the little squirt of urine. Oh, maybe not. Maybe just a stretch. Ooh, listen to the growls. That is just the most epic sound, everybody. So I don't know if you can see, but what she's currently doing is she's got a dead stick in front of her there. And she's busy digging her nails, her claws into the dead stump. I'm just going to keep quiet while she's growling like this. It's just such a fantastic sound. Please let me know if you can hear that, everybody, that low growl. Now, unfortunately, I haven't come across a camera or a microphone that's able to do this, but that sound, as much as you're hearing it, Marcel and myself are feeling that sound right now. We're feeling the vibrations coming through our chests. Such a powerful sound, that growl. Even though it's not the loudest of sounds, you feel that sound as much as you hear it. And that's the sound that a lion will use, obviously, like she's doing now. She's warning that male that she's not ready. Ooh, she's still grumpy. Obviously doesn't want him. Obviously does not want, or she hasn't really warmed to his advances yet. And I wonder if it's maybe she's in the early stage of estrus. It might also be that this particular male, some of you may remember he's got a brother. So this is one of the members of the Bayala male coalition of lions. And he's got a brother, the male with that big scar through his eye. And his brother's quite a bit more, he's got kind of a thicker, fuller mane than his. And he tends to be the more dominant male of the coalition. So perhaps this lioness doesn't want to mate with this male. She wants to mate with his brother. Possible reasons as to why she's not warming to his advances. Or maybe she's just testing him. Testing to see if he's fit enough to keep up with her. And to be the father of her cubs. I know it's not the greatest view for now with him behind the sticks, but I'm pretty sure that she's going to move out of there not too long from now. It's a shame. Now, if this male is to be successful in his endeavors, he's going to have to stick with her, keep up with her, and we've often seen lionesses put males like this through their paces, walking massive distances, even during the heat of the day, where the male's big shaggy mane obviously weighs on him, to test his fitness, to test if he's strong enough to keep up with her, to prove his fitness. But we'll see what happens from here. Look at how, for now, she's still sticking there by her little stump. I'm hoping that she comes out towards us. We can just see her head now underneath the log. And still growling. Rubbing her head against the branch. Just see her looking at us through the bush there. And illuminated in some lovely golden light. Here's the male. The male's sneaking up right behind her. This is going to get us... Oh, I thought you might smack him for that. Shidulufan, you're asking if this is one of the two Biola males. It is indeed Shidulufan, the male. Yes, yeah. So this is the male of the coalition that has the slightly smaller mane and who doesn't have the scar through his eye. And it's often... Oh, here she comes. Oh, she's going to come straight towards us, and the male's going to come right behind her. Couldn't have asked for anything better. Oh my word, she's going to come right towards the vehicle. Just sits nice and still, everybody. She's just going to walk right past the vehicle. Here comes the male. Oh my goodness, look at how beautiful his mane is. How fantastic was that? And they're walking down the road behind us, everybody, so I'm going to turn us around and we'll try and keep up with them. Oh. Okay, we're going to try and get another view of these lions, and hopefully when you come back to us, we'll have them back in the road, and we'll see if they do try to mate.
Good morning, everyone. It is another spectacularly beautiful morning out here at Tswalu Kalahari. Davy on camera, and my name's Dylan. It is great having you with us, as always. Yet again, I'm going to be trying to find a wildcat. It's just like I'm not having a huge amount of joy with this yet. Yet is the operative word, but we will find them at some point. We've had 5 or 6 sightings over the past 2 weeks, so they are around. I've just got to be putting in the right effort, focused in the right places, and that's going to be the challenge. But anyway, we're not going to give up. We are going to pop to the meerkats later to get a quick sighting, but we're going to sort of cover a slightly different area this morning. Again, just checking burrow systems, because we know these are key resources for these African wildcats at this time of the year. And I think that's just going to probably be the most productive way of trying to find these cats, unless we bump them by mistake. But yeah, it's great having you with us, and feel free to ask us any questions about what we're seeing. And just again, please bear in mind, when I say we're going to be focusing on or trying to find African wildcats, it doesn't mean that we can't see anything else. So Davy and I will stop every now and again if we are seeing other cool things and show you as well. So yeah, fantastic. Join us on this. And yeah, it's brilliant having you along. I hope you've all got a hot cup of coffee or something while you're watching us. And it's just a good morning, eh? Every morning out here is a good morning. How can it not be?
Welcome back, everyone. So look at how the male and the lioness they've now started to walk down the road. The male stopping to scent mark. Look at how he's almost blocking her path, everybody. And she's growling at him. She doesn't like what he's doing. Now, apparently just further down the road, one of the other vehicles has managed to find the rest of the pride. And that is doubtless where she's trying to go. She's trying to join up with the rest of her family. Oh, listen to that growling. She's not happy with what this male is doing to her. Because he's going to want to keep her here. He's going to want to prevent her going back to the pride, because his brother might be there. And then there might be competition for her if she is coming into estrus. So he'll want to kind of keep her away from the rest of the pride and almost isolate her. I'm just going to... Obviously, we don't want to get... We're obviously really quite close to these lions. And I don't want to put any pressure on them by going much closer. So we're just going to stick where we are for now. at how he's heading her off. He's blocking her path. And she's still growling. I don't know if you can hear that. Oh, did you hear that, everybody? It was a bit of a louder growl, and my rib cage is like vibrating. Apparently the sound is not quite coming through. Like I said, it's not the loudest of sounds, but it's more just like the infrasound that you feel that makes it so special. But there's the male. Look at how he's rubbing his mane in that bush. And turning around and spraying. Isn't he just gorgeous, everybody? Look at that beautiful mane. I know I keep going on about his mane, but it really is beautiful. That lioness is not impressed. Basically being held hostage. And once again, everyone, if you do have any questions or comments, this is of course a live safari, so please do send through your questions on Twitter using the hashtag WildEarth. Or if you're under the age of 18, we'd love to hear from you. Please send your questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Any questions about these lions or about andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve? Like I said, I'd love to hear from you. Let's see what this male lion does now, because he's obviously trying to court this female. And she's not exactly responding in the manner that I think he would have hoped. He's being quite hostile to his advances. So see now how he's lying down a little bit further away from her. Let's see if we can try and creep a little bit forward, everybody, just to get a slightly better view of the two together. They've moved a little bit away from us now.
Welcome back, everybody. We're on Somabili at Somabili Dam, and we've got a martial eagle, a sub-adult, that's got something in its foot. It's caught something. Egyptian geese are very upset. It's trying to walk with it. It hasn't yet tried to eat or to fly. How cool is that? Now, I don't know what it is. It almost looks like a ball of elephant poo, but I doubt it. Is it a ball of elephant poo? It might be a young gosling or a grouse, but you'd think it would be able to fly with that. There we go. Now it's going to try break it with its beak. Oh my word, look at that. I wonder if it's a tortoise, Craigie. It's something that's heavy, because it should easily be able to fly away with whatever the size is. The size shouldn't be an issue, but it might be quite heavy. But it looks like it's got a full crop, though. Can you see how its chest is inflated? Or is that just the angle? I think that might just be the angle, and that's the shoulder we're seeing. So you might ask how I know it's a martial eagle. It is a very big bird and very white chest. The head is slowly starting to get a bit darker, which means it was probably a juvenile the year before last. It's coming into its adult plumage. Might even be 2 years. I'm not sure offhand exactly how many years it takes a martial to reach adult plumage. You can see the speckles around the throat already, and on the back of the neck are starting to come. And juveniles are completely white on the head. Unfortunately, we can't get any close at the moment, everybody, without... Well, first of all, there's a watering hole between us, and we might lose signal. But we could go around onto the other side, but I fear we would chase it if we did so. We don't ever want to chase an animal from its food. It's always quite something seeing these enormous birds of prey on the ground. There we go. Oh, he's in that tree, Craigie. I don't know what he was playing with because he's not left it. What on earth are you getting at there? Now, if we... I don't know, we can't get too much closer, but there's a yellow eye and a very big body. You can see what I mean by how the back of the neck is starting to get a bit darker. There's still a bit of white on the throat and then on the back of the head. But soon, that whole neck and head will be the same color as the shoulders and the back. And we will have an adult martial eagle. There are far fewer of these birds around these days than you realize. Conservation efforts for these large birds of prey is underway, but unfortunately, a lot of it's got to do with habitat destruction. You might find these birds in these massive big reserves, but you don't really find them outside. It's unfortunate. Same goes for vultures, birds of prey. Large, long-lived, slow to recover, very slow breeding, requiring enormous areas of land for their territory and for their food. Actually, no idea, but this one is far past being needing any parents. It has been off of the nest already for 2 years, maybe more. I'm going to double check exactly how many years it takes to get adult plumage, but even when you find them completely white, if they're flying around like this, if they're away from the nest flying, they're independent. You know, once they've left the nest for the first time, they're pretty much on their own. There's no more parental care. The parents work very hard to provide them with food in the beginning. But already it's into the adult plumage, so it's well on its way to becoming a fully mature and fully ready to contribute to society martial eagle. So we've seen a juvenile martial eagle on the property on Juma for the last 2 years. I wonder if it's the same one. And always interesting. These things interest me. Martial, as in like a warlord. Eagle. Martial. Okay, so huge diet, everybody. Huge diet. Reptiles, monitor lizards. I've seen them killing steenbok and grijsbok. He comes across. How wonderful. Yes, into the tree you go, you beautiful thing, you. Oh, and there's a marshal in the sky, everybody absolutely loses their mind. You think the squirrels will make a noise when they see a leopard, when they see one of these fellows. Okay, William, see, we know how big the nests are. The nests are a pretty big platform of sticks on top of a tree. I'm sure I can find exactly what sort of diameter. 1.5 meters long by about 30 millimeters thick. A diameter of 1.5 meters and about half a meter sort of high. But they do reuse them. They'll lay more and more and more and more. On top, they can also use the nests of others. Storks, many large raptors such as vultures. All these birds interchange nests, and even eagle owls will use those nests, and it all depends who gets there first and who is more ferocious. Just trying to find exactly when they get their adult feathers. Off he goes. James, how fantastic indeed. We were on our way here. We spotted that white body from a distance, and both Craig and I said, that's a marshal. I mean, I almost had a doubt that it might have been a stork or something, but from a distance we both had the same feeling. And very cool, everyone, to see one of these large birds up close. I can't find the fledging, or should I say oh, maybe it'll say it here. It doesn't say. Maybe it does. Dark brown feathers appear on the head or neck, upper parts, sides and breasts after 2 to 3 years. Okay, so at least 2-3 years old, this bird already. They stay that very white color for quite a while, but it can take 5 to 7 years to transition completely into the adult plumage. You find that with many of our raptors. The Battalier is a 7-year transition, and that's why I say that they are such slow sort of recovery species, because 7 years in the bird world, everybody, is a long time if you think about it. Doesn't feel like it when you think about it, but all the other birds you see around here, 1 season, 2 seasons, they're breeding already. As Egyptian geese, it happens very quickly, and they're quite a big bird. But large birds of prey, as with most predators around the world, there's a very slow recovery period if they get influenced in any way. Wolves, lions, leopard, they've got to get that youngster back into the population. And it takes time. Successfully takes time. So that's why when there is influence on the predatory population, you can have enormous knock-on effects on ground level, because your prey availability or abundance booms, and when it booms, they affect so many other things in the landscape. So keeping everything in balance is very, very important, from the largest predator to the smallest. We call it mega predators and meso predators. So the small guys like the genets and the jackals are as important as the really, really big fellows.
So what we've got here, and this is really interesting, for those of you, you're just seeing a dove. Okay, we're not just seeing a dove, we're seeing a Cape turtle dove, but not only that, it's an injured Cape turtle dove. And you'll see the wing that's closest to us now is fine, but you see as it turns, look at that wing, how it's drooping over there, with those feathers that are out of place. So I think, and we were chatting about it, I mentioned it briefly yesterday while we were sitting down at the water, the gabar goshawks that frequent this area, they nest around here every year, and it's very possibly actually gone for this dove. And I'm not saying that a specific goshawk on this specific dove, but this dove has probably been whacked by a bird of prey, maybe even a wildcat. And as we're looking at that dove over there, every now and again, if you just pull out a little bit wider there, Davy, every now and again you'll actually just see other doves zooting through the frame, going down to the water. So this little guy is actually not doing that. He's intact, he's feeding, but the fact is that he's sitting on the ground now, and all the other doves are in and out to the water already. But this bird is definitely been hit by something, whether it's an African wildcat, which I doubt, but almost certainly a bird of prey, more likely a bird of prey. But it just shows these raptors and other predators, they don't always get their own way. I mean, I don't know what the extent of this injury is on this dove, but the fact is, now that we're looking for African wildcats, we're also going to keep our eyes open for the goshawks in this area. If we can find them, it'll be really, really cool because, like I said, one of the pair is melanistic. So it's pitch black, just with the cere and the legs being this bright pink color. Very, very cool birds. I don't know what the end result for that dove is going to be, but probably not good. But again, that's also, part of what happens out here. That is part of nature. So Butterflies asked, is the dove able to fly? I can't answer that. It may be able to, but I'm not going to walk closer and test it. It's just the fact that we're not seeing other doves around here in this immediate area sitting on the ground. They coming to and fro from the water, and just looking at the way that wing's drooping like that, and the other wing is fine. I think there's some other injury over there. It could just be that the feathers were displaced in an attack like that. It is what it is. A mongoose will eat that. An African wildcat could eat that. A genet at night could eat it. There's lots of things, but it's all part of these systems, and it is what it is, eh? So let's go find that elusive wildcat for a change.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
Good morning, everybody. We are in Juma Private Game Reserve. In front of us, we also have got some zebras. I believe that you did enjoy nature through to the dove, as well as the martial eagle, which is the biggest eagle in Africa. So my name is Raymond. At the back, we also have got PK as my cameraman. So we are right over here together with those impalas and zebras, which are so camouflaged that tell us sometimes those animals, they can manage to camouflage from the distance. If you look very carefully, it's sort of like a branches, which is dark branches, and the light. That light, the white color, it's look like as it is a gap between the branches. It's how they are also camouflaged for themselves. For them to share life together with the impalas. The impalas are also good on speed running, and the impalas are also believe their safety through to the zebras, because the zebras are very good on eye sighting. So a little bit over there where you can see, go up, yes, you can see that bird, that's a fork-tailed dronga. Mostly the fork-tailed dronga, they go for those big animals in order to catch some flies. Call it fork-tailed dronga. If you look at the tail, it's look like sort of like a fork. So as the visual is not that much good over here, we will move a little bit forward to check the hyena den, and after hyena den, we will move towards the treehouse dam, evenly on twins dam. Let's see if we can manage to get something good. It's a wonderful morning. Not too cold, but it looks that during the day it's gonna be a little bit hot. As it was nothing, not evenly a single cloud for today. As we are going to Hyena Dam now, we're approaching it. Maybe if we can get something, we'll stop and talk a little bit about it. But especially for the birds, because this side, as we saw those animals, They're so very relaxed. I don't think is there any predator very close. Gary, the young zebras, or the zebras, the male zebras, mostly his job is to territory and do mating, not to participate on raising for young ones. So it's only the female one which have got milk that can manage to raise his baby. The male, oh. If it's a male one, don't like it a little bit, don't like more if it's not its son. Or so the mother have to be separated a little bit for a period of 2 days if it is a male, so therefore we'll join them. Tell him, man, it is a little bit difficult for me to say which one is the favorite, especially this side, because I'm just arrived. I did see a wonderful leopard, which is a little bit long to me to find it. So at this moment, I will say it is my favorite because I never get close as much as it is. Many times it takes a while for me to get that close leopard like what you got over here in this area. Yeah, well, let's double check right over here on Hainedan, and after that I'll go to Treehouse Dam.
Well, thank you, Raymond. I didn't hear what Raymond's favourite animal there is, so I'd like to know. It's always nice to know everybody's favourite animal. Craig, what was your favourite animal again? Craig's not sure. Honey badger, there we go. Craig and I are on the same page. So everybody, we've gone across onto the other side of Somabili from the watering hole, and we've caught up with a wonderful herd of a zebra and wildebeest and some impala in the distance we'll go to shortly. But we went over and investigated what the martial eagle had been playing with, and it was a ball of elephant poo. I'm very perplexed. We're very perplexed as to why it would be playing with a ball of elephant poo. Any of you raptor specialists out there, tell me why a martial eagle would spend however long it did on the ground playing with that elephant dung. The only rationale that Craig and I have come up with is that maybe the elephant dung had termites or insects underneath it, and the martial eagle had turned it over and had been eating them, and then thought, maybe I quite like this souvenir, I'm going to take it home with me. Maybe he's a big fan of football, of FIFA, soccer, I mean. No idea. It's a first for me. But a special sighting nonetheless. Greybeard, exactly what you're seeing right now is extremely common. Animals will feed together, different species. There actually are many ecological reasons for that. Number one reason from a social point of view is that the more eyes, more ears, the more chance you have. I mean, have a look at this herd now. Three of them have got their heads up in the entire herd. The rest of them have got their heads down feeding. So there's a lot more time to feed because someone else is supposedly looking out for danger. So that is one of the behavioral reasons why they do it. Another reason, from an ecological point of view, is zebra are able to eat the grass that is much taller. They've got teeth in the top and bottom of their mouth that they can chop the grass down, and they facilitate and open the vegetation for the wildebeest. Okay, so many animals do that. White rhino, hippo, zebra, and even buffalo facilitate by chopping longer grass down. They encourage shorter grass or grass to be much lower to the ground, and that is the type of grazing that wildebeest absolutely love. In the Mara, if we've seen times in the Mara whereby we've got these huge swathes of land that have been burnt by fire, and then next to it are these areas that have not been burnt. Those areas are tall with grass. The areas that have been burnt, all the wildebeest are on the short grass. That's what they like, short grazing. So too the Sabi and the hartebeest, they like the short grazing. Obviously, it's not just the short grazing they like, it's the open cover that they like, the expanse. They can see predators, but they really like to feed very low down to the ground. So without the fire, the wildebeest would follow the zebras who would be opening that vegetation for them by chopping it down lower. It's almost like different degrees on a lawnmower. You chop it to a certain height, helps one animal, chop it a bit lower, helps another animal, and chop it right down, helps the third. So that's also why you have so many different mammal species, grazers, and if you really put them down into some categories, you'll notice that they are actually quite important for each other. Some rely heavily on the others to facilitate the vegetation for them, with not too much overlap. The wildebeest like it nice and short. The zebras like it a little bit longer. All of them, though, however, quite enjoy burnt areas where the grass is regrowing and nice and juicy and sweet. But fire is not always there. It doesn't happen every year. Fire naturally in a system like the savanna, 2, 3 every 4 years perhaps, maybe even 5. So without fire, the zebras are very important for chopping it down. And if you checked my Instagram last night, you'll see a post of the hippo that I put there. And hippos have absolutely no selection in their mouth parts. They just mow the lawn. They make wonderful lawns, and they're unable to overgraze. They just keep chopping it to a very nice, soft level that everybody enjoys. And white rhino are the same. They both feed with their lips, and I would like to see you overgraze something with your lips. It's just really not that easy to do. When you've got an enormous mouth, that is anyway, the size of a small truck. Jerry, I've never heard of a red wildebeest. There's quite a few different sort of variations that are around with regards to wildebeest that have been, I think, bred for that regard. I'm not a very big sort of fundy on that sort of thing. But these are called the blue wildebeest, also known as the brindled gnu. And the ones you get up in the Mara are called the white-bearded wildebeest, or the white-bearded gnu. And they're called gnus because they go gnu, gnu. They make a noise like that. It's a very nice onomatopoeia. A name designed, those of you who have forgotten your English lessons, a name that's designed around the noise that it makes. Okay, well, we're going to probably stay here with our animals a while longer and just enjoy the scene.
So we are slap bang in the middle of this particular African wildcats territory over here. We've passed through a couple of times already over the past week or so, but we're going to go right through it, out the other side. But what I wanted to show you, all these gorgeous little doves sitting in this tree sunning themselves. These are called Namakwa doves. Okay, now Namakwa land is an area on the sort of central western side of the country. It's renowned for its beautiful flowers. At certain times of the year you get these mass showings of flowers, and this dove occurs in those areas as well, hence the name. But what I want to point out there, look at that nice behavior there. Yep. That's a little male trying to impress one of the females there. So the males have got these beautiful black chests, that's his tail and his bum sticking up, I know. Let's see if it turns out if it is in fact a male. It might not even be. I'm just trying to see from this angle there. But anyway, so what I wanted to point out here about all those doves sitting there, and if you look, if you go a little bit wider there, and you'll see that scraggly vegetation just underneath the bottom of that bush. That is totally adequate cover for an African wildcat to sit in, just like that. Now an African wildcat hiding inside there will go after doves like that, and they wouldn't see that cat at all. And these cats can sit for hours and hours and hours. Cats will capitalize on that kind of thing. So every morning, in fact, that we've come past here, these doves are sunning themselves in the same bush. So an African wildcat could figure that out pretty quickly and say, actually, you know what, I'm going to rock up there early in the morning, just take up position under this bush and see what comes in. So that's just out of interest. But it's nice to see how they're all sunning themselves there. And these are actually our smallest doves we get in South Africa, not in terms of total length. Hey, Roshni says these are her favorite doves, and they are really, really pretty little birds, especially when they're in the breeding plumage. That one bobbing its tail, that is a male, by the way, just out of the breeding plumage. But when they're full on breeding, they've got this pitch black chest with this little orange beak, and they're very, very striking, very pretty doves. You know, I know a lot of people just kind of accept doves. Oh, it's a common and they kind of grey colour. But doves are actually incredibly beautiful when you start looking at them closely. As are any species of bird, even these LBJs. You know, what we term LBJs, those of you who don't know that aren't bird, it's little brown jobs. It's these tiny little, often nondescript looking little birds. But, you know, if you start working with them and you look closely, most of these things are incredibly patterned. Yeah, so this is just, I'm trying to like really build up onto this African wildcat thing. You know, we've got the food, we've got the habitat. It would be great if we could actually find the cat for a change. But let's keep on ambling along, and we're not going to give up till we get one. I promise you, at some point over the next 2, 3, 4 years, we will get you an African wildcat sighting. You just need to be patient, eh? Patience is key in all these things.
We've had to leave that male lion and lioness, everyone, and so we headed off in the direction of the rest. We've managed the Ngala Pride, and it looks like there's at least one other lioness here for the time being. I wonder if it's that same lioness who's the mother of those 2 new cubs that you saw with Clive yesterday. Wouldn't that be exciting if those little cubs are here too? For the time being, two on the back of their neck. Amazing to have seen that big male earlier and his beautiful black and red mane, and now to see how that mane would have started as a bit of blonde fluff along the back of the neck and around the chest. So that male on the left that's looking away from us, Quite easy to see that nape of longer hair growing down the back of his neck. And then the male on the right, I don't know. Yeah, there's a bit of bushes. But look at his throat. Look at that long hair that's growing there, that's starting to darken a little bit. And behind them there's a bit of a riverbed. James, you're asking about the lion dynamics of Phinda. You're asking who was the dominant, or who were the dominant males of this part of andBeyond. So this part of the male, who was then known as the south male, he still does live here on the reserve, but he's been pushed into the far west of the reserve by the two Biola males. We haven't seen him though in quite some time though, so I don't know how he's doing. It's been quite a while. Oh, there's a big yawn from that young male there. Now they all seem to be getting a little bit restless, everybody. See how that's now 2 or 3 of them that have stood up. Direction, stick with out of the sun, out into the open, where we can maybe even.
Well, we are with our animals that are still not, well, they're not restless. I'm not sure who was restless that side. I didn't get that comms. Our wonderful herd here in the open, enjoying a nice sunny morning. It has been and was a pretty chilly start to the day. Phinda lions, andBeyond Phinda lions. Well, we are with Somabili, zebra, and wildebeest, everybody. And it's a very common scene to see these two species together because of exactly what we were talking about before. But both of them as well share the same predator, that is lions, although leopard are capable of taking out young zebra and young wildebeest, so are hyena. But lions are most certainly the biggest predator for these animals, and we see some wonderful scenes in the Mara of the zebras there and the wildebeest crossing and hanging out in their millions. And it is really a special scene. If you've never been before, everybody, it's very hard to describe and nearly impossible to capture on a camera. I've been attempting to in the last few weeks. I've been sending through lots of reminiscing pictures of the Masai Mara, or the Mara Triangle, and the migration of last year. And I'm now bringing it back to Juma. As of last night, we're going to be focusing on some more localized animals. Forget you can always follow WildEarth Official on Instagram. I'm on there as well, Falconbridge Steve. Feel free to go in and have a look. Start off, I suppose, with a bit of a general game section before moving back over to some beautiful leopards. Butterfly, they do look confident, don't they? They do look very confident. Well, out in the open like this, in a large group, the animals are very relaxed. It's obvious that there's been no threat to their life in the last hour and a half at least. These animals live on that brink of sort of tension and stress constantly. They are always being hunted. They never know quite when their lives will become at risk, and so they're always prepared for it. And hanging out in a group like that when everyone else is feeling a little bit relaxed, as I'm sure you felt that before. If you're in a group and everybody's calm, everyone's taking it easy, you're pretty calm and relaxed too. But if you're in a group of people where everyone's a little bit agitated, it definitely does sort of follow on to your emotions as well, and you get agitated yourself.
Yes, morning again. We are still right over here. We try to take something from the hyena den. We did get the 2 young ones. Automatically, we can't stay without mama. So we drive a little bit right over here on a treehouse dam where we did find a little bit different birds. Oh, it's fly off. Also a blue waxbill. Also, I've got some bantam, doves, as well as some grey lorry. So some of the birds are pretty, looks very good in the morning, trying to drink water. Look at this one. That's a waxbill. Looks so pretty. They're moving in a number, almost more than 5 to 6 mostly. Same as the bantam. The bantam are very, very, very. Yes, here it is. Look how pretty it is. For us and African people who don't like this one, because during the harvesting, they go for wheat, and as they're moving in a big number, it's not easy that we can manage to protect. So a long time ago, they're using one person to stay over there with some sweep or anything that can manage to chase them, because it was lots of birds together with people. Very pretty bantam. Maybe you can wait a little bit. Let's have a little bit moment of silence if some other birds can come. Let's go down. So the button and the canary are friends, are the destroyer through to the wheat.
Tracks of Mafazi Ingwe, southern side of Second Rock, going straight west. I'm gonna follow it.
Fly off.
Confirm track.
Yes, so we'll try to check if on Twins Dam, maybe we can get something right over here. So very, very quiet. Just only a water alone, nothing extra.
So remember, we just stopped at that little group of Namakwa doves, and it had that small clump of bush at the base of the tree that they were sitting in. And I was saying just how that tiny bit of cover is totally adequate for an African wildcat to conceal itself and hunt birds like that. What we're looking at here, you got all these tiny little burrow systems all over here, and there are millions and millions of rodent tracks up and down here. All these little runs in between the different burrows. These are gerbils, burrows from gerbils, and I just want to give you some kind of indication of just how efficient these African wildcats are at hunting in an area that is as open as this, with little burrows like this. The technique, and that's why we're checking burrow systems like meerkats, ground squirrels, yellow mongoose, these rodents, these little gerbils and that, is even in a completely open environment like this, an African wildcat will lie close to the entrance of a burrow with unbelievable patience, and he can lie for hours, flat. I've watched them sitting at waterholes, lying on the edge of the rocks at a waterhole with their ears down, so that doesn't even give themselves away to birds and that kind of thing. When there's a sign or a chance for them to grab something, they just pounce, and they are lightning fast. So even in a completely open environment like this, you've still got the chance of finding an African wildcat, and that's why we're just going to persist with this. So even though we will be driving through a number of areas that are appear very open to us, remember, these cats can still hunt in this kind of environment. For the prey items that they're going for, this is absolutely adequate cover. Crazy as it sounds, eh? But it's pretty cool too. And there are just so many burrow systems like this around that we are in for a good chance. And let's just hold fingers and cross everything and see if we can get one. I'm really, really excited about this, and I hope it's going to work. But it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, or the day after, or the week after that, or the month after that. But at some point we will get it right. The law of averages. The more we try, the greater the likelihood.
Sorry about any technical difficulties you might be experiencing there. You won't believe it, but we've just had to track down Craig's glasses again. But we found them. We found them. They weren't far from the zebras. I just love this open area. There's obviously been management intervention to have created and kept an area like this open. We've had natural bush thickening in these areas for quite some time, since man's influence, obviously, with artificial water, creating water in out of season times, has led to these areas becoming quite dense. So when you find these really beautiful open areas, this is probably what it used to look like 60, 70, 80 years ago, and it would have been a home to what we now regard as rare and endangered animals such as sable, Sabi, eland. I don't think that track is fresh, but let's just have a look. It's a lion track on the ground there. I think you can see it, Craigie. Let me just jump off. I was just talking about zebras and their food being, lions being their favorite food. Here is a track. Can you see it? Now, some of you out there might be like, okay, how do you know it's a male? How do you know it's a female? How do you know it's not a leopard? Just to take it easy and measure quickly. There we go, we measure. Okay, remember, for my camera, I don't want to put my finger in the way. So here's the top of the track. And this is 10 centimeters. This knife. Definitely not a leopard. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3. 13. This is a female. The toes do go past the back pad a little bit, and on the other side a little bit more. But front foot of a female lioness. A male lion, his track is just so much bigger when you see it. It's nice to find them together in comparison to work it out, but the male's got such a much bigger track. This has come straight across here and that side. I don't think it is that fresh, but are we going to go around there anyway and just have a little look? There's no more tracks over there, which means someone's driven all over it, which means it's probably from the day before. We're not driving here every day, and they're definitely not that busy on this side. So fresh tracks, something when we find them, we will know. We get very excited when we find them. But the Unkuhumas do like hanging out in Somabili. I did track the 4 of them here the other day. Susie, you want to know which animal's the hardest to track? Well, depends on what animal you're trying to find. You see, like going forward in what we call our tracking qualifications, it's always been about finding big 5. But now there's been this huge push in the tracking world to be able to track antelope, like kudu and nyala, and they're not easy. They are not easy to track. So each animal has its different days, I suppose. The last few times Stefan has been out here, I've gone walking with him and tried to track kudu, and it's tough. It really is tough. Because they've got a different behavior. You've got to become the animal to be able to track them. Let's just have a look at some of these boys here. I'm pretty certain I'm going to lose signal in a second if I keep going straight. These Impala boys, they're always very jumpy out here on Somabili, the Impala. Whenever we do find them, they always make me feel as if there's a predator nearby, and I've yet to find one because of the Impala. But we're going to carry on around this open area, see if maybe we can pick up on any more fresh tracks of the Pride. Sorry everybody, we can't move currently because I'm pretty sure if we do we're going to lose you, and you seem to be losing someone else as well. So I'm going to turn around and go up the hill, because I know if I go up the hill I'll have signal. I'm 100% certain there I'm going to lose you. I'm not certain exactly what's going on that side or who you were supposed to be with, but you're back on Somabili where it's all happening. Not really, not all happening. I'll give you an example now. We're going to stop at the top of the hill, and then Craig's going to try to show you how nice and open this area is. And it's as long that side as it is this side. And a wonderful area to spend some time. Tell me when you've got a nice view of the left there, Craigie. Okay. Well, it sounds like things are sorted elsewhere, so we'll be sending you away in a moment.
I'm going to climb off. So we've got something really fascinating here. We've spoken briefly about the pale chanting goshawks. Remember at the dam earlier with an injured dove, I was talking about gabar goshawks. But we've also talked about, when we're at the meerkats, these pale chanting goshawks that may start nesting in this area, that I really want to try to find the nest. This is the pair that I'm talking about. So a straight line from here to where the meerkats are is about 1.5 kilometers, give or take. Maybe a little bit less, I guess. But anyway, straight line, let's say 1.5 k's. So this pair of goshawks is probably going to be nesting over here soon. And it's quite cool to see. Okay, there's the one. I cannot from this distance for the life of me tell male or female, so don't even ask me that, please. In fact, even if I was up close, I probably still wouldn't be able to tell the difference. There are marginal size differences, and often in raptors, your females are larger, just out of interest, because they do a lot of nest defense and that kind of stuff. But anyway, this one is actually feeding on someone. And I think it's a baby meerkat. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. I don't know what it is. That was a wicked one. I know. Don't hold it against me. But I think I may even wait here a little bit. Davy and I will wait here. And because when that bird, it doesn't look like a large prey item. It looks like something small. And when that bird actually flies off, and obviously we won't disturb it. They 130 yards, 140 yards away from us. So we're still far from them, but we won't disturb them. But if they do fly off, I'd actually like to walk in and see what the remains are, what it actually caught. But I'm so chuffed about this, so this is going to be difficult. This is going to be like finding the duck nest, but a little bit easier. I mean, because they do a lot of territorial displays, and because it's two large raptors perched out on top of a tree, and they nest on top of these little trees as well. We should be able to find the nest with a bit of PT. If we put in some effort there, we should get it. It doesn't look like a big prey item, but I really can't see what it is. So I think I am going to stick here because I really want to. I'm always interested in to see what things eat, because when you go through literature and that, it's always fun to correlate what you're reading and what other new records you can come up with. And you never know. You never know what that is. I mean, these guys are super generalist in terms of being raptors. They're very, very generalist, and they'll take anything and everything that they get a chance to catch. They'll even walk around on the ground, and there's a couple of raptors that do that, African hawk eagles and things like that. They'll actually, if prey items like that dove, take that dove for instance. So those doves, typically what a dove that's injured like that will do, it'll actually hide inside bushes. So it'll normally stay close to the edge of vegetation like that one that we saw was doing. And if there's any sign of a threat to it again, it just walks and goes and hides inside the bushes. Raptors like this, these pale chanting goshawks, they will actually walk around and around and around a bush like that, trying to get to whatever's inside it. So they're incredibly adaptable birds of prey, these, and very, very wide range of prey items. That's why I'm so interested to see what it's gobbling there. What it's gobbling. It's caught a goblin. But it's not something big, whatever it is. So I'm gonna guess it's a bird or a mouse or something like that. But you never know. And this is how you learn. You've just got to wait and watch. Manette says this hawk looks so elegant, and totally right. All of your birds of prey, there's a reason why they're depicted in so much historical stuff and so much literature and on flags. They've just got this really regal appearance about them. They're just such graceful flyers, and being predators. People have always had this fascination through the ages with predators. And okay, there goes a leopard with the cubs again. But these birds are really are beautiful, sure. So it's interesting that one is just sitting out there. So if I had to take an absolute, and I've got nothing to base it on, if I had to take an absolute flyer, I would say going into the nesting season now, I'd say this is probably the female that's on that kill, and that's the male sitting out to the left that's not feeding. I have nothing to base it on, so don't, you know. I hope it's not eating like a wildcat, like a little wildcat. Julia's just asked, will this hawk share its prey with the other hawks? On a larger prey item, absolutely. And but on a small thing like this, it's very unlikely. You know, during the nesting season when the female's on the nest, you know, then the male will, yeah, they'll alternate on the nest and that, but he'll also bring prey items back to the nest. So there's sharing there. But in terms of a small prey item like this, yeah, that they've gone out and caught, it's very, very unlikely. But it's small, so I don't think they're going to be feeding on that very much longer, to be honest. But regardless, yeah, Darwin and I we'll stay here and just, yeah, until it's finished feeding and flies off, and because then we'll actually walk in there while go pick up the remains and bring it back. And then we can show you what it was eating. If there's in fact anything left. If it's small, that bird will gobble that entire thing up. Then there might just be a little bit of fur or feathers left, that's all. Ubajanu is 13, has just asked a cool question as well. The question is, could it be the injured dove that we saw earlier that this goshawk's eating? It may be, but I doubt it. That in a straight line distance from here is about 5 kilometers away now. It's probably well within the area the territory that's encompassed by these birds. But still, that dove, it's a tiny little bird sitting on the ground, quite obscure, like right on the edges of the bushes. And also the length of time that it's taken for us to get from there to here, I would doubt that it is that same dove, but it's not impossible. You know, it's not impossible. We left that dove and we hadn't seen goshawk, so we could have been driving out, they could have been there somewhere, caught it, and then flown back here, but I doubt it. And also, particularly the fact that they're going into the nesting season now, so they're starting to do their territorial displays. If we see that, I'll point it out to you. But also the fact that, you know, a small prey item like that, if they did catch a dove, they would have eaten it very close to where they caught it there. You know, they wouldn't have flown with a little dove all the way from there back here, unless they had a nest that they were bringing food items back to. So the other thing here, so the what do you call that bird? Pale chanting goshawk. The one sitting on the left-hand side. Okay, Darby's going to pan way out behind it to the left. Darby, you'll see there's a massive weaver nest there. Okay, so if we zoom in on that weaver nest, yeah, you got it. You see that big tree? Okay, there we go. So I know that is quite far. So while we're sitting waiting for this goshawk to finish its breakfast, there we go, that's nice. So a weaver nest like that, look how incredibly complex and convoluted the design on that nest is. Now a nest like that is fantastic for hiding all sorts of other animals, not just the weavers that actually made it. You know, with those beautiful contours on the top over there, there's like little hollows, ins and outs. That is exactly the kind of place where you could find African wildcats, caracal, leopard, giant eagle owl, spotted eagle owls. not all at the same time. But, you know, so nests like that. So these are the kind of things that we'll be scanning as well all the time while we're out here. And of course, the thing that I didn't mention are snakes. You know, these are, and for those of you who were following with Chandra and I a couple of weeks ago, you know, we had Tilo, our snake researcher out here, and he did those cobra releases, and we know these nests are like smorgasbords for cobras and boomslang, things like that. So we'll always be keeping our eyes open on these big nests as we're going past them as well. This goshawk's still tucking in properly into whatever he's eating there. But this is exciting. This is like, yeah, now we know he's eating something. Let's go see what it is. Whew. Sheesh. So Eric's asked a very, very good question, speaking of the sociable weavers there. And the question is this, is how many birds will be in a colony like that? You can literally have hundreds, 200-300 breeding pairs of birds. Some of these nests, that is quite a large nest. We've actually got ones that are even larger than that on Tswalu. And typically they make these big nests in these large trees because they obviously need the branches, need to be big enough to support a nest to get to that size. But there's a town, well, when I say close by to us, it's you know, I was going to say close by, but it's straight down, it's probably 250 kilometers away from us. But when you drive towards a town, it's called Uppington, all along the power lines, you've got these massive weaver nests on these power lines. And some of them get immense. So you get a lot of birds living in there, and it's not just the sociable weavers. You can get a whole range of whole nesting species. Okay, we know the pygmy falcons that we looked at was yesterday morning. You know, we saw a couple yesterday morning, and we've seen them before. They'll actually breed inside the nest, but then these little nest chambers are also very important for a lot of bird species. They don't use them for nesting, but they use them for shelter, especially on very, very cold evenings. Red-headed finches, ashy tits, acacia-pied barbets. There's a whole range of them that will actually just use the nesting chambers for shelter. And when we were at the dam yesterday, excuse me, we had that very brief, I showed you that funny little picture, you know, with the temperatures of burrows. So these nests also perform a very, very important role, not just for the weavers, but for these other little birds that co-inhabit with them in terms of thermoregulation. So they're quite important.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
So you've come from Tswalu and a sociable animal to Pridelands, and another sociable animal that has a large home. These are dwarf mongoose, which were sitting on this mound warming up. It seems like they've warmed up enough and they've all started to move off towards their feed. Mongoose do eat insects and other small things. So once it warms up and the insects get more active, they will start to hunt around for them. Oh, this one's watching us. Hey, how's it going? How are you doing? Very cute. So the morning time is a good time for feeding. Sorry, not for feeding as well, but also for grooming. Remember, they spend the whole night in that dark and abandoned. And there might be, 10, 15, sometimes 20 individuals in this little band of dwarf mongoose. And so sleeping together, sometimes there's lots of little ticks and parasites. So in the morning, they groom themselves, comb their hair, clean themselves up before they go out and start the day. As you can see, just where that one's standing there is a little latrine or a midden where all the dwarf mongoose defecate outside of the mound to make sure that they don't bring any of that parasites and bacteria from the dung pile into their little home. This one looks very confused. Where are the rest of your buddies? They've all headed off. You are left behind. What are you going to do? You going to join them or just hang out with us over here? We don't mind. You can stay with us. You're pretty cool. Remember, these are the smallest of the social carnivores. And they are carnivores because they do hunt. They do catch sometimes lizards, snakes, and they'll eat small birds' eggs. Small birds, but mostly insects. Sometimes we actually find hornbills sitting on top of their mounds in the morning like this when they're not very active. It was very cold this morning. And what's interesting is I was told when I was first coming to learn to be a guide, I was told by one of my instructors that sometimes the hornbills will get impatient and start pecking at the mound to wake up the mongoose. I'm not sure if that's strictly true, but I've certainly seen termite mounds being sat on by hornbills with the dwarf mongoose sitting underneath. I wonder if it was trying to wake them up. Megan thinks that this is adorable. They are adorable. They're so fluffy. They're so fluffy I could die. They are fluffy like that because they need to stay warm. If they're small animals, they lose their body heat very quickly, Megan. So they're very, very fluffy to keep warm on these cold mornings. They've got such tiny little ears as well. You see that very slender nose. That's because they live underground in these dens. And if they had big ears, they would get filled with dirt and sand. It would be very uncomfortable. So they have a tiny little scuffle about through the undergrowth without getting sand and twigs and things inside their ears. They've got very good hearing though. They listen out for any alarm calls from the birds, especially the drongos. In fact, there's a drongo not so far away, just to the left of these guys, waiting for them to disturb insects that it can catch. And if the drongo sees danger, it will alarm call, and these mongoose will go scurrying back into their safe places. It's almost always at least one mongoose, which is lookout. Maybe that's what these two are. Maybe these two are just looking out whilst the rest forage. And then when the rest have eaten a little bit, they'll take over the lookout duties, and then these two will be able to continue feeding as well. It's a wonderful system. Works very well. Mongoose are very successful. Squirrel nearby as well, which I'm also seeing, which is very similar to mongoose in its shape, but very, very different. They live up in the trees and they eat nuts and things. Mongoose are not rodents. Squirrels are rodents, so they eat all sorts of different things, seeds and fruits, but also insects like the mongoose. The mongoose doesn't eat vegetation. It's strictly a carnivorous little animal. We actually were saying, Gertna, this is a very, very den. It's very big. There's lots of holes all over it, and you can see all the midden pile there is very large. So that means this mongoose family, this band, uses this mound all the time. So it'd be a good place for us to come and see them regularly. Ooh, there's a very good and interesting question about whether mongoose can be domesticated, and definitely they can. They're very, very fiercely territorial. I have a few friends who've, over time living in the bush, found mongoose kits, I think they're called, baby mongoose, that have been abandoned or that have just taken up residence in their gardens when they live in the bush, and they become very, very tame and habituated. So it's incredible. These ones are not tame, habituated to us a little bit as we sit here, and yeah, maybe over time we'll get them to be more habituated and we'll go and be like Tswalu, have them climbing on us.
We have left our pride of lions, everyone, and we've carried on with our travels through the open plains. Myself and Marcel have managed to find this big herd of zebra. And in fact, it might even be more than one, or in fact more than likely is more than one herd of zebra. See how there's a couple of different groups that are stretched out with a bit of space in between them? And look at all of those tails and how they kind of rhythmically swishing from side to side, chasing away the flies. And just having a look through my binoculars, have a look at this closest group of zebra, everyone. Have a close look at this big stallion that's closest to us. Look at how beautiful his coat is. It's almost shining, and it's like someone's just given him a good polish. Oh, no, sorry, no, that's not a stallion, everybody. That looks like a mare. My mistake. That closest one to us. But nonetheless, look at how beautiful its coat is. And a little while ago we had a bit of rain, just enough to kind of wet the earth and to kind of settle all the dust. And all the animals now seem to just have this, or at least these zebra, that had all the dust washed off of them by that rain. And they just look super, super healthy. Pretty much wherever you are in the eastern parts of South Africa, when it starts to get to July, August, everything gets so dry and dusty. And here, have a look at the earth and how it's this reddish color. Often when it gets so dusty, these zebra with their white parts of their body, they start to take on that very rusty red color, at least in between the stripes. A bit like that second zebra. Look at how dark that one is. But that's not from dust, that's just pigmentation. Actually, you're asking an interesting question. You're asking why zebra manes don't grow longer like horse manes do. And actually, to be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that. But what I would surmise is that it's got some evolutionary adaptation, or it's got some kind of survival link to it. So if the manes did grow longer than they currently are, it would have some kind of negative impact on their bodies. That would be my best guess, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to get back to you on that. Of course, most adaptations that animals have physiologically, they will have evolved to be to be of benefit to the animal. In terms of sizes of things, the size of an animal, of a feature of an animal, will depend on how much of a benefit it brings to that animal. If it's bigger than the size that it is, it will be detrimental to the animal's survival. If it's smaller than it is, it will be detrimental to the animal's survival. All the zebras now with their heads down in the grass. A common theme to our drive here this morning, it seems. We saw those buffalo feeding a little bit earlier, and then we saw the rhinos feeding, and now these zebras also busy grazing. And so nice to see so many of them all together. Dondeka's saying that they look like they're taking it easy on this Sunday morning. Definitely. It always fascinates me looking at the zebras, at their different stripe patterns. And we've spoken about this one that's closest to us and how shiny it looks, and then that one just behind it with that much darker kind of shadow striping in between the black stripes. And that closest one to us now got a big mouthful of grass. And it's incredible to see, just as we sit here and as I use my binoculars and scan around us, to see how the different hillsides and different areas on the hillsides have got varying concentrations of animals. So here, there's this big herd of zebra up here. There's quite a few impala and warthogs also in this vicinity. Looking across to a neighboring hillside, also a big herd of zebra there, and wildebeest and impala. And then some of the hillsides just seemingly void of life. So obviously there's certain patches that have got better grazing than others. Different species composition of grasses that grow there because of the soil conditions. And perhaps even the same species, just some that are in a better state than others. Look at that zebra at the back there, busy scratching its head. Looks like he's found a stick to relieve an itch on. And done. Of course, for these zebras, not having hands and fingers like we do, where we can easily scratch an itch behind our ear or on our neck, they won't have that ability. So they'll have to find a stick or a log or a tree trunk that they can scratch up against. Yusuf, you're asking if this is a family. So Yusuf, looking at these, see how there's, like I said, there's kind of different groups of zebra here. They're all kind of spread out a little bit. They're not all packed together tightly in one herd like that big buffalo herd that we saw earlier was. So Yusuf, this will more than likely be several families. And each family, Yusuf, similar to the buffalo, will consist of one stallion and then a whole bunch of mares that then live with him, and then of course their offspring. And what's happened here is I think there's 2 or 3 different harems where it's one male and his mares and their offspring that have come together just because of this available food resource. There's also what looks like a bachelor herd, Yusuf. In fact, yeah, there's also a bachelor herd in here, Yusuf. So a couple of males that are not yet strong enough to challenge or to hold their own harem of females. And so all these different little groups all come together to make it look like one big zebra herd.
I believe that everything is okay. You did enjoy life. Those animals coming in a group, it is showing us something very special as well. We were just on a dam where we managed to see some wax-bill, the blue wax-bill. So now it's resulting for me to get a chance to see the nest of that wax-bill. So this wax-bill, you see me, I'm also scary to get closer to this tree. The reason for this wax-bill, this is the nest for wax-bill. If you see very clearly right over here, it is where the wax-bill is, the nest of wax-bill. It's made sure that all those tree, it is orchid. So this one, it's so called a buffalo thorn. The buffalo thorn, their thorn, it's so very sort of, it's evenly more than a needle. So that's if you touch it, it stabs you immediately. So it's a part of protection to themselves as they're doing this nest to this buffalo thorn. That evenly the snake, if can't manage to reach that area, it's make this nest where sort of like a bushy. That if it's coming, it's stab. If it's coming, it's stab. It's a part of protection. Sometimes this bird, a wax-bill, can manage to get a chance to make their nest where it is not this tree with, it's not only this tree that they have to nest on it. They can only nest sometimes even on other tree, but where they're nesting just very close to them, where there is, they make sure that there is a wasp. So those wasps, it is also protecting that nest together with the babies, that if the snake comes, it will shake. And when they shake, those wasps, they will go straight on that thing. They believe that want to destroy their nest of that wasps. So instead of disturbing there, but those wasps, they believe that they want to disturb them for themselves. So they go to that one and sting that snake, and the snake run off, while it is a protection of the wax-bill. So this tree, as I said, it's a buffalo thorn. It's also a spirit tree of us in Africa. I said it's a spirit tree long time ago. If someone, evenly today, is still happening, like now where I'm staying or where I'm from, if someone got an accident or he died somewhere, for example, maybe if I'm die, whatever, where am I? My spirit is still here. The body, BK will take my body home. Said, no, Ray dies here. But here is the body. But where is the spirit? The spirit is there. So my family will come to say, BK, take us and show us where Ray died. And then BK will take them and bring it over here where I was, where I did fall. And then they cut a branch of this tree. No matter I didn't fall where it is, but they will have to use this tree. They cut a branch of this one, and they call my name right over here. They say, Ray, let's go home. It's a time for us. So they make sure that whatever, how far it is, they put that branch on a seat of that vehicle. That okay, sit over there until I reach at home. So when they're going to bury me, they will also put that branch on top of that grave. They said, rest in peace. We'll see you when the time for us, the God call us, we're going to join you. So therefore, it is the end of that. So evenly this tree, you can see, doesn't have that much branches. If you look around very close here, very close here, very close here, it has been cutted. That it's a very, very nice tree for all the animals that are browsing. And just looking, the leaf that I can also take some. You can see, I don't have to cook it. Serve it to my mouth. It is nice as well. They also have got some berries. Those berries as well, it's nice. You don't have to cook it, this one. You can cut. If you are hungry, you are on a bush. You're walking long distance. You don't have something to eat, you're getting hungry, you don't get fruits in a bush, and you get this one. If you get a sort of few germination, you can take some leaf and you eat, you eat, you eat. You will regain a little bit more energy that you can walk a little bit more longer distance until you reach home or you get whatever where you're going to get something. It is very nice. Doesn't damage your stomach. Don't think that after what you eat, it will be scrambling or whatever in your stomach, it will be rolling. No, it is sort of like a salad. Yeah, the salad we don't cook, you know. You just take like that, or lettuce, you eat like that. So this one is the same as the lettuce. Okay. We will move forward a little bit. To get something forward as well.
So both of the goshawks have flown off now. The one that was feeding, which I suspect was a female, flew off to the right. Then the male actually landed on the ground, chased the grasshopper or some kind of bouncing creature, like insect. But he didn't catch it, and then he flew off now. He's disappeared into the far distance. So I'm going to walk into that tree where she was sitting with that kill. You don't have to wait around. This is going to take me a little bit of time to get there, try like meerkat my way up to the top of the tree and then get back down. So you might lose comm. So if we go to another segment, that's also fine. But I will see you shortly. Don't go anywhere. Okay, you're going to see when we get closer. Tasty, tasty morsel. Let me actually, then you can all hear me panting out of breath. I would not like to be chased by a cheetah or a lion over this terrain. Thick sand is awful. That's why I hate running on a beach. So this is what we have. That is the remains of the kill that the goshawk was eating. In fact, you actually see it's still moist over here, still very, very wet. And, okay, so who is this? It is not, number one, it's not a meerkat. Don't panic. This is actually a ground squirrel. A ground squirrel, so that a lot of the hair's off the tail. But it is so cool to see that. They've obviously had this kill. It's not caught this morning. You can see it's actually quite dry already. You know, it's actually quite hard in places. So they probably caught this yesterday, I would guess. And, you know, they've obviously been plucking it, pretty much turned him inside out. Or her. Him or her, I'm not sure. But how cool. So that's really interesting. And remember, we've been following these meerkats, and I keep saying, you know, one of the biggest threats to them are, let me put that down, are aerial predators, raptors. That ground squirrel is perfectly within the size range of an average meerkat, and that could have been a meerkat. We're just lucky it wasn't, and yeah, anyway, at least you saw that. Quite interesting, eh? Yeah, so maybe they're going to be nesting close by. If we can find that nest, then we've got, I don't know if that's my blood or the squirrels. So Victoria's now asked a really good question. Would the goshawk not return? That is done and dusted. There's nothing left on that. That's now going to be ant food. You know, nothing, but the goshawks won't return to that. That has been completely finished. And in fact, one thing that you couldn't see on that goshawk, and that was interesting, is the crop. You know, they got this beautiful pouch just on the lower front part of the neck, and they actually keep that food in there before it goes through to the gullet, through to the stomach. And if they've had a big meal, they'll actually see that crop bulging. We didn't see that on that one, so, you know, whatever was left on here was negligible. And the fact that it's also so dry points to the fact that this kill is not fresh. So by the time it gets to this, that bird was just more interested in it because it's got its food item, as opposed to actually having plenty of meat left on it to eat. So no, they wouldn't return to that. But it's just interesting following up. So let's go find something living now, like what about an African wildcat as a starting point would be good. But yeah, that's quite interesting, eh? Sure. Cool.
So we found two southern yellow-billed hornbills that are doing a courtship display. Watch this, watch this. How awesome is that? Ah, that's so cool. So these southern yellow-billed hornbills have found a nice prominent perch in a very big open area. And what they're doing is two things. Firstly, courtship, so affirming their bonds. This is probably a mated pair, and they are monogamous, which means they mate for at least a season, sometimes for life. And another thing they're doing is just telling any other hornbill pairs that this is our territory, this is our place, stay away. That was so cool. They'll do it a number of times. You see how white it is under the wing, so it's a very big flash signal to any other hornbills around to say, hey, this is our spot, we are dominating this area. Really awesome. I hope they do it again. They also sit in the sun right now because it's nice and warm. It's been very cold recently. Oh. Usually they do it 4 or 5 times and then they'll move off to a different spot to do it, just in case other hornbills couldn't see from that particular spot. See how they look around? Also have to look out for danger. We did see a couple of African hawk eagles flying over earlier, so they do have to be vigilant. Wouldn't want to be displaying for your partner. Oh, there they go. Wouldn't want to be displaying for your partner and then get eaten. That would be a little bit embarrassing, wouldn't it? Well, the hornbills have flown off, but it is a very, very beautiful morning. As you can see now, it's a fairly nice open area behind us here, so we're just driving. We had a herd of buffalo at Leopard Dam, but of course today we're having really bad signal issues, so we couldn't show you. But they're moving into this area, and we've just stopped here hoping that they might come and feed in these clearings, which would be super great. Oh, there's a question about why hornbills have those massive beaks, and it's a good question for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is for temperature control. They have a lot of blood vessels that are in their bills, so when they sit in the sun, we've got freeze frames. We might have to move away. But if they sat in the sun, the blood warms up in their beak and it warms them up very, very quickly. And other reason is it also maybe helps them when they're catching prey, that they can keep the prey away from their sensitive skin, so they don't get stung or bitten. But we're going to hang out over here and just watch the world go by.
Welcome back, everybody. We've got a very exciting pair of birds here for you. I think it might even be a new bird species for some of you. They're called African quail finches. And look at them busy drinking there. I know they are quite tough to see, and that you might not have the best view of them, but this is pretty much the only time that they actually sit still where we can actually get them on camera. There flies the one of them. Can you hear all the calls behind me? All of those kind of chirping, I don't know how I would describe it, almost like a chirping metallic sound. Those are all the quail finches calling, and they're typically very difficult to get on camera because they will spend a lot of time lying low in the long grass where it's tough to see them, and they'll sit very still, and when you eventually do try and get close enough to them, they'll fly out of the grass and fly away. But here is a picture of them in the bird book. I think this might help you to get a better idea of how they look. They're quite an attractive bird. There's the male over there and the female, and they're still calling. They're flying all around us. So there's the male, see, with his very black throat and his white ring around his eye, that red bill, and then all the barring on his chest. And I'd love to hear from you if this is a new bird species for you. It's a bird that we've been seeing quite a bit here at andBeyond Phinda in recent months. Remember, we saw the chestnut-backed sparrowlarks a couple of days ago, and we said that they're quite a nomadic species that follow the availability of food. It can be quite similar with these quail finches. They'll also they can either be resident or nomadic, but in this area I've never seen so many of them as we've been seeing in the last few months. And like I said, this water source, one of the best places to get to see them, because they feed on seeds, which is very low in moisture. They have to come and drink. And as I say that, look at the buffalo coming down to drink behind us, everybody. Sorry for that, but suddenly just saw behind Marcel a big black shape. Looks like a big herd of buffalo have come up the hill from behind us, all coming down to drink. Remember earlier with those buffalo, we said that later in the morning, when the sun starts to get more intense, they'll come down and drink. Look at this one closest to us. How big his horns are, how big that boss is on top of his head. One of the ways we can tell that it's a bull. It seems like the whole herd has just crossed the road behind us. It's a big stream of buffalo stretched out over at least 60 or 70 meters. They're all slowly making their way down to come and drink. So please do let me know, everyone, if that African quail finch was a new bird species for you. I'd love to hear, well, firstly, if it is, and then also what your species tally is up to for WildEarth. I think we're going to spend a bit of time watching these buffalo, everyone. I think there's a big herd coming behind us. And I'm sure within the next few minutes, this waterhole is going to be inundated with buffalo. So we're going to spend a bit of time here and see what happens.
Awesome. Buffalo drinking at the water. We've done something quite similar, everybody, here on Somabili. We've come down to One-Eyed Pan. And looking into the buffalo thorn there. Not the buffalo, but the buffalo thorn. And it looks to be a grey-headed sparrow at the moment. I can't really make it out in that light. But see, he's got a little bit of a white shoulder patch, doesn't he? It's the right sort of size for a grey-headed sparrow, but in that light, it's not very... I'm almost certain, though. We often talk about birding, and we talk about birds coming down to the water to drink, and seed eaters are very dependent on water. Have you ever had a handful of nuts and seeds and not had something to quench it down with? Very difficult to do so. So seed eaters get almost no moisture out of their diet, so they need to drink regularly. Insect eaters get a lot more moisture, so they don't have as much of a struggle when it comes to keeping their mouth moist. Or their body, should I say. They don't really... Do they have a mouth? What do we call it? The inside of the beak. And these little spiny, thorny trees on the sides of pans are a winner when it comes to birding. Birds feel quite vulnerable coming down to drink. I saw that martial eagle earlier. That's not the bird that they're afraid of. They're afraid of sparrowhawks, goshawks, shikras, pearl-spotted owlets. They're like us. They like to come and stake out these watering holes as well. A grey-headed sparrow, also known as the southern grey-headed sparrow. You do get the northern, I do believe. Not here. Sparrows are very common. Very nice little epaulet on the shoulder. You could kind of see it, that little white patch. What did you hear, Craigie?
The squirrels along and then Impala just...
Did you hear an Impala? So Landeka, your comms only came through at the end there. Something about Byron. Craig's heard an alarm call. I didn't hear it. Did it come from there 12 o'clock?
No.
Byron, the rarest birds that I've seen here, well, rare and endangered birds that we get, definitely the southern ground hornbill. We don't get many ostriches around here, and I've yet to see one. I've seen a track. They're not really considered rare, but they're rarely seen. We don't have the watercourses for the Pell's fishing owl, and I can't think of any other rare and endangered or very, very uncommonly seen bird. I was trying to see if I can hear what Craig heard.
There's only one.
It was like a
Yeah, but the squirrel was going for quite a while.
A squirrel. Oh, I don't trust squirrels. Did Trish come right with her squirrel alarm calls this morning? I've yet to have a squirrel accurately give me a predator. He's very good at aerial predators. They do this hyper G. Then you know there's an eagle or a raptor flying past. but when it just comes to their normal chattering, I've seen leopards walk right past squirrels and the squirrel just does nothing. He just sits there and goes, "Don't look at me." I think they know if they make a noise, they might get eaten. When it comes to terrestrial predators. Okay, everyone, Craig and I, that is, are going to spend a few more moments at this watering hole to see if anything comes down to drink.
Yes, as we just moved from the nest of a waxbill, it was fantastic. I believe Steve and Craig, they're also doing well. We are right over here in front of us. We have got a Ngala bull, which is another animal so exciting. That shows that we are quite different through to the other animals. The Ngala is the only animal change completely the color, leave the lake. You can see the legs? Well, it's still young. It's have got that color, the whole body. It was sort of like reddish, like that, or brownish. But if it's getting old, it's have got certain that produce the horn together changes the color. But the female one doesn't change the color, stay as it is. So those Ngalas, they do fight for dominate, for who's going to take over, for female one who's going to be the alpha. So the defeated one, sometimes they form themselves ahead of Bachelor, a very close one. But the very old one, they do separate like the buffalo. If it's very old, the buffalo, it's walking alone, where his life is in danger. So evenly the Ngala, if it is defeated one, he getting upset because he will be no more together with the rest of the female one. So they chase him almost a distance of about 50 to 100 meters as he's still running. So they leave him, and then he will think a little bit to go back to join them. But buffalo never go back to join them. But this one, if it's a chance, he can join the other defeated one. But if he's just defeated, he will move a little bit alone for a while, and then he will join them again. So to be sort of like fluffy, you can see how fluffy it is. It's also show the braveness, how strong am I? And if they want to fight, you manage to pull those hair from the back until over at the neck, as well as show that I'm big enough. That see me, I'm strong. And the other one said, no, I'm stronger than you. All of them, they do the same, trying to get closer to each and everyone until they start fight, until one get defeated, and they chase him a little bit while, and then we'll come back to join another one. So as there we see that they are eating, those three which are eating, it's called a tamboti. Tamboti have got a white Latin, that is a poisonous tree. But for those animals which are bronzing, it helps to kill the bacteria inside. Most of the time, especially this time, they still have got those changing of the season. As the changing of the season, they can be affected like us. Sometimes in winter, some other people gaining a flu, whatever, but for them, to protect for them not to getting any such disease or whatever it is, they eating this one, they're going to kill the bacteria inside. But for human being, yes, but for human being, it won't affect anything. So after this Ngala, we will try to move up. Maybe we'll get something interesting.
Just like we said, everyone, the herd of buffalo has come into the waterhole. Probably about 60 or 70 buffalo. that filled up the waterhole, and they've all now started to trek to the northeast, off into the grassland, to carry on with their feeding for the day. There's a bit of a riverbed on the other side of this hill. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a bit later they all go and lie down there, having fed and having had some water, to go and ruminate for the day. I'm just going to keep quiet for a bit, everyone, just so you can listen to the sounds of them walking through the water and the odd little grunt. Sassy Cassie, you're asking if or how far Cape buffalo migrate. Sassy Cassie, they tend not to migrate in the sense like wildebeest and zebra do in East Africa. They'll kind of just move according to wherever the best food resources are, and that distance will depend on the availability of food, Sassy Cassie. So, for example, here on Phinda, this group in one day might cover close to about 10 kilometers in like a big circle. Oh, there's a warthog coming down as well, everybody. A little warthog coming down also to drink. Also coming down to quench its thirst in the water. So Sassy Cassie, and that would be like within kind of a day's movement. But if they do need to, they might move further than that. They'll just move wherever the best grazing is. But there isn't kind of the same well-known migration path as there is with wildebeest and zebra up in East Africa. In Kruger, there's often seems to be a bit of a movement of buffalo herds that often move west from kind of the Kruger itself into kind of the Manyaleti and that area during winter time. But it all depends on availability of grazing. Chance is saying nice warthog. It does look like a very attractive warthog. Look at those beautiful tusks, and it's almost the little bristles on the back of its neck all like standing up on end. Beautiful little mane. And having waited now for the buffalo to all move off before it comes for its drink for the day. I wonder if those bristles are not just more noticeable now because of this wind that's starting to blow through. We're gonna move on from here, everyone. I think we had a super special sighting here, getting to see those African quail finches drinking from the waterhole, and then to have that surprise of the big herd of buffalo coming down to drink, and now this warthog. So we're gonna keep on making our way home and see what else we can find along the way back.
So what we've got here is the most incredible, stunning little plant. And this must be absolutely ancient. And I won't talk long about it. We can look at more of these. This is called a puzzle bush. But what caught my attention when I was walking around looking at tracks here earlier, well, I thought this was a dead stump. Just like, this is a piece of dead wood. And then I started seeing it, but it's got all these little shoots on it. But for those of you who like bonsais, this is what we're looking at here is an absolute masterpiece of nature on every single level. The fact that this plant normally grows tucked away in bush clumps because it's highly palatable. It's one of the best butterfly bushes we have on Tswalu when it's in flower. But it's normally protected and sheltered in amongst little thickets. So to see this one just outside here is just quite remarkable. There's been a lot of termite activity all over it. It's been heavily browsed. I would imagine it's gone through a number of fires in its lifetime, incredibly hard frosts, and just droughts. extremely heavy rains time. So it's just amazing how this has survived and persisted in this incredibly harsh environment, and how beautiful it is on every level.
Well, we were persuaded to stay by just the beautiful scene that this warthog was presenting us with while it was drinking, with its reflection coming off the water. But it's now decided, like the buffalo, that it's time to move out. And just like the buffalo, this warthog is going to head off over the hill there in search of food. If it's able to get enough to eat, it might be able to have a rest towards the middle of the day when the sun is overhead and it's a bit hot. Might go and find a shady bush to lie under, or a small tree, maybe in some cool sand. Interesting to note though that it didn't mud wallow. I don't think the temperature is quite hot enough yet to warrant that. But just amazing to sit here at the water in these relatively dry parts of the reserve where there isn't much left. Pretty much everything comes to the water and congregates around here. So I'm sure you can still hear the African quail finches going berserk above us. There's flocks of them that are flying into the waterhole to come and drink. And they all go quiet as soon as they start to quench their thirst. And there the warthog trotting away with its little tail up in the air. And just stopping every now and then to make sure there's no danger. Annette, you're saying great drive as always. Thanks very much, Annette. I hope that you had an enjoyable morning out with us. It sounded like it was very exciting from all the different properties. And this afternoon we get to do it all over again. So who knows what that will bring. We will of course be going live again at 3 p.m. Central African time once again today. And I'm excited to see what the afternoon holds in store for us. But until then, from us here at andBeyond Phinda, we're going to say goodbye. Enjoy your rest of your day wherever you are.